else we go to John in Port Charlotte, Florida. Hi.
I'm responding to your query of the woman who exercised grace under pressure with that young man in Georgia.
Yes.
You had commented that, you wondered how anybody could do that.
Yeah.
And you said you wished that you'd be able to in the event that it were ever to you be in that situation.
No, that's not exactly what I don't anticipate being in that situation. You never know. I said if I were in that situation, or even with in my own life, even with callers on this show, I wish I could be like that.
Well, let me tell you how it happened for her. Okay.
And how do you know?
Well, because I just from the words that she spoke and an understanding that I have, that would enable a person to be able to exercise that level of love and grace.
And it has to do with finding God, right?
Well, as a matter of fact, it does, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because the woman herself, because you said even in what you were saying, that it really seems like it's something that somebody really can't do unless it were divine. At least that's the way I see it.
And that's not what I said.
Well, I'm paraphrasing.
That's not at all what I said.
So
I don't think you have to be divine. I mean, I don't think you have to believe in God per se to be a good person or to show love toward other people. And by the way, the word God is such a catch-all word that can mean so many different things to so many different people. Your concept of God and mine are probably very different.
Well, that very well could be, but I'm going to give some biblical understanding as to why I believe it's possible for an individual to exercise that kind of love. Because it says in the Bible that you're crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live, yet Christ lives in me. So ultimately the woman, she was yielding herself to the work of God as he was living through her.
Does that God have to be Jesus Christ?
Well, in her circumstance.
Well, I didn't ask about her. I said, in your view, must that God only be Jesus Christ?
Well, in my understanding, Jesus Christ is only living God that can enter an individual and give him power.
Well, that's your view as a Christian, so is it possible to have another kind of faith and be just as divine?
Well, no.
It's not.
Again, in my opinion,
in other words,
no.
only a Christian could do it.
Well, there's only one God.
Well, I don't know about that. Maybe there is, but what if you're God? What if you believe in God, but you're not like Jewish people, which I happen to be? Don't look at Jesus Christ as a deity. We may believe in God, but we don't worship Jesus Christ. We worship God. Well, so does that mean if that's my view, I can't be divine?
Well, I'm saying that according to Scripture, Jesus indwells a believer.
Well, yeah, but you're that's self-referential to say because it says so in the Bible. That's my proof. The Bible is not proof. The Bible is self-referential. That's like saying Jesus himself said it, so it must be true. You can't use that as part of an argument.
Well, if he says this is his word.
No, wait a minute. That's self-referential. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
you're saying Jesus is God. He says so, therefore it must be true. So that doesn't prove anything.
Well, in my opinion, God is certainly strong and powerful enough to protect his.
I think it's quite arrogant to think. See, here's my problem with your kind of attitude, and I don't mean this personally. I mean it in a broad sense. Those who say their way is the only way, there is no other way, unless you believe what I believe, you're damned to hell, or you're not going to be as good a person. I mean, that's a very arrogant attitude to have. No one has the market cornered on what God is or what to worship.
Well, and certainly we all have free will. That's one of the great things that God gave us. And
but what you're saying is we all have free will, but unless you choose things my way, you're not as good.
Well, you see, here's what I understand. I believe that God is at work in the hearts of all men, and he paid the price, the ultimate price for all
No, when you say God,
mankind.
you're equating God with Jesus. Not everybody believes that. I don't worship Jesus Christ. Does that make me, am I going to hell because of that?
Well, that's certainly not for me to decide.
Well, no, of course it's not for you to decide. I hope you know that. It's also not for you to decide how good a person I am and how divine a person I could be based on what I believe and whether or not it agrees with your belief. You're not the person to decide that either.
Of course not. But, here's the truth of it all, Alan. One day, every knee will bow and every tongue confess.
Oh, I don't know about that. One day we might all just be dust. I don't know that. I mean, you can't be so sure. You can have faith, but that's not science. You can have all the faith you want, but it's called faith. It's not called science.
So you mean science doesn't have faith?
I'm saying that's not the scientific method. You can't prove with science that Jesus exists. You can't prove with science that Jesus is God. You can't prove with science that Jesus defied the laws of physics, died and came back, or walked on water. You can't prove it.
Well, here's the thing. I can prove this. A life changed. My life has changed.
Well, that's good. I think that's great. If your life changed because of whatever belief system you have, I think that's fantastic.
Okay.
And I think that's great. And there might be other people whose lives change with completely different belief systems who are just as valid.
Well, I suppose that's what people.
Your way of whatever worked for you and made your life change for the better is great. Congratulations. I think it's wonderful for you. That doesn't mean that's the only way.
Well, unfortunately, and again, I just go back to what I trust. Okay. And
that's good for you. Good for you. That's great.
See, the scripture says.
But don't tell me what I should do. No, I don't want to be preached to.
Right.
I don't want to be preached to. And I think what worked for you is great, and what worked for you might work for millions of other people, but there might be another millions of people or billions of people for whom maybe they find another way to get to the place where you are.
Well, and again, that's a chance and a roll of the dice that people are willing to take.
That's a roll. I'm taking it. Have a good night, John. I thank you for the call, sir.
Do the same, Bud.
All right, Bud. My name's not Bud. Why do you call me Bud? His name isn't Bud. I called him Bud. Why? No one's Bud here. What am I, a beer?